Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. Today we're going to ask the question, what if Twisted Metal was actually realistic? So let's get right into it. This video idea actually came from our man Pedro, who's the one who's been creating all of the Twisted Metal 4 mods on the channel and for my live streams. So thank you, Pedro, for this idea. So in this video, I made a list of all these things, both good and bad, of what would happen if a new Twisted Metal was realistic. And I really thought this was an interesting topic because I've never thought of this before or had a discussion with anybody about this before, of what if Twisted Metal was set in real life. And now thankfully with the Twisted Metal television show, we can get a small glimpse of what it would be like if Twisted Metal was in real life. However, there is some stuff in the television show that's a little still on the whimsical side, if you will, not necessarily fully realistic. But for the most part, it's definitely more leaning towards a real world situation than it is a fantasy world. So that's what brings me to this video here. I'm going to go over all the good things that I think would be cool with a more realistic approach to a Twisted Metal game, and then I'm going to go into what would basically not work at all, in my opinion, for a realistic game. Starting out in the good stuff, the first thing I think would be really cool would be that there would be a lot of real destruction elements to the vehicles, such as you'd see wheels popping off throughout the battle, maybe pieces of metal getting ripped off one by one throughout the vehicle, same with doors falling off and all that kind of stuff. Basically think of games like BeamNG or Wreckfest, but in the Twisted Metal universe. I just think it would be really amazing to get a type of graphical engine that could potentially add some type of destruction elements like this in a Twisted Metal game. I genuinely think that'd be a really sweet idea. Ramming damage would be super realistic, so for instance, if you have a monster truck like Hammerhead running over a smaller character like Crimson Fury, yeah, Crimson Fury is probably going to be dust immediately, but I think this would be super cool and interesting to see in terms of, again, with realistic damage assets on the vehicles. Now, in reality, it'd be very overpowered for a monster truck to go up against a sports car, but hopefully that sports car be fast enough to get away to never let that happen. There would be more realistic environmental destruction as well, such as buildings falling apart piece by piece. Now, we've had destructible environments in previous games, of course. You look at Twisted Metal 2012, and Black is a good example of this, where you can pretty much destroy any of the smaller buildings that you see in front of you, and even some bigger buildings with certain in-game events that you can trigger with certain objects, which is really cool. And I would love to see, of course, a returning of that just scaled up tenfold. I would also love to see small details, like for instance, if you miss a napalm shot on somebody, it would leave an actual crater in the road that would stay until the end of the level. I think stuff like that would be super cool. There would be new environmental hazards such as snow on the ground, deep mud, broken up roads, etc. to make traction feel different and varied throughout different levels. Not only would this switch up gameplay, but I think it would also make for choosing different vehicles feel different for each type of level, which would be really cool. And speaking of environmental hazards, I think more weather effects should be introduced as well, maybe adding actual rain, snow, thunderstorms, sandstorms, etc. And for instance, when something like a thunderstorm comes through, it would allow an environmental lightning attack, so to speak, to happen. However, it wouldn't be up to the driver to initiate the lightning, it would just happen at random, and whoever's ever underneath that storm cloud could get hit by it. And we can't talk about realism without talking about graphics. I mean, this would obviously be the best looking game in the series, and hopefully they'd introduce some new stuff like ray tracing lighting effects and more realistic textures to make the game look absolutely breathtaking for a brand new Twisted Metal. One of my favorite things I think that would come with a realistic game would be that the AI would actually treat the fight like a tournament. So they would actually fight each other when you're not around and not just go after the player, because that just wouldn't be realistic. Another realism thing that I think would be pretty cool would be that there would be no returning vehicles throughout each level of the tournament. What I mean by that is when you kill somebody, they are dead, so they are gone. They will no longer be returning in that tournament. But in order for this to actually make sense or to happen, we pretty much have to have about 40 plus different characters to choose from, which honestly is kind of unrealistic, ironically, to think of, but it could be a possibility, I suppose. They would have to bring back the Create a Car feature from Twisted Metal 4. This would allow you to make your character and your car as unique as it can be for the tournament. Each vehicle would get different upgrades such as shock upgrades, engine swaps, tires, body kits, and different cosmetics as well to change up the stats of the vehicles before each level. This would also kind of correlate into those different weather effects in the different levels, as I stated. So if you, for instance, are going on a snow level, you'd want to upgrade your tires for better traction in the snow. I think a more realistic Twisted Metal should also include some type of steering wheel support, maybe VR support at some point, and a manual transmission option. This obviously would be very difficult to do for the most part, but I think it could be possible. Instead of pickups laying around the floor, because that doesn't make any sense for more weapons, you would actually need to drive to dedicated weapon stands to purchase more with an in-game currency that you could acquire for doing odd jobs in between the battles. What I mean by this is essentially throughout the tournament, I think there'd be downtime or maybe an open world type concept where you could drive around and do different odd jobs or kill different things or certain people or whatever as like a hitman to get money to then buy certain weapons throughout a fight if you need them. And one cool thing I think they could implement this with the gameplay is that the weapon stands could be potentially destroyed in the heat of battle, which would resort you to needing to hold on to your weapons more thoughtfully, and if you ever run out of weapons entirely, you're gonna have to think on your feet and destroy enemies with other means. Maybe have somebody chase you to where you can drift out of the way to have them fall to their death, or simply ram them into a wall until their wheels fall off and then you kill them that way. There'd be a lot of different situations you could set up here to make the gameplay interesting in a more realistic setting, but from where I'm at right now, this is the most I could think of that could be in a positive light for this happening. If you guys have other things that you think would be really cool as an addition to making a realistic Twisted Metal, let me know in the comment section below. But with that, let's get into the bad stuff for the reasons why I personally think a realistic Twisted Metal probably would not be the best idea. Starting out, if you get flipped over, well, your car would just be flipped upside down and you would not be able to flick back until you either get rammed or probably just killed. If you get hit way too hard, or if you run into a wall too hard, or if you fall too far, that could probably kill your driver or give them severe whiplash to where your handling would be suffering. You would only have one life for the entire tournament, however long that might be. So you would not have multiple lives, you would not have a restart, you would have to do a game over as soon as you die within the tournament, which would be super aggravating. There also would not be any way to heal your vehicle during the battle, so forget health pickups or health bridges. Nope. To make it realistic, you'd have to just start from square one and hope for the best. Lower armored cars, of course, would also be at a massive disadvantage because of this. They'd be way easier to kill, especially if I stated like if you got run over by a monster truck character, for instance, you'd be dead immediately. Another disadvantage for smaller cars is they wouldn't be able to hold as many weapons as much as a larger vehicle or a truck could. Depending on your vehicle, some environments might be honestly impossible to drive in. So like, for instance, big trucks would probably be just fine driving through mud and snow, while cars like Crimson Fury or a sports vehicle would pretty much be stuck in it. However, they probably would be a little bit better in open city streets and they'd be able to outrun those big trucks that would probably get stuck just trying to turn around. There would be no energy abilities, so no freezes, you wouldn't be able to jump your car, no shields, anything like that. And the biggest cardinal sin in my opinion would be that special weapons would have to be toned down entirely. They would only be ones that could be achieved in real life, such as maybe Roadkill's special weapon in Twisted Metal Black, where he can shoot out multiple missiles at once while you hold it down, charging it up in time. But things like Sweet Tooth's mech, not possible. Things like Spectre's ghost missile, yeah, nice try. Shadow's Shadow, not gonna work. Maybe Mr. Slam could be a possibility, but yeah, pretty much all the really cool specials just would not be a reality. Characters like Axel, who are open to the elements, could probably be in the game, but they would be killed within one machine gun bullet either to the head or chest, which makes them unplayable. Cars would need to take breaks for gas fill-ups, probably like pit stops in a NASCAR race where everybody would be blown out the whistle and they'd have to go to their own designated area to fill up and not fight each other, just to make it more fair. Calypso would probably just be some rich dictator type character who gives out a cash prize to the winner, instead of his normal mystical showrunner self with demonic powers granting the winner his final wish. The endings that showcase the winner would have to be probably filmed in live action, which kind of sucks because we all know the comic book style wins every single time. The more wacky characters such as Minion or No Face, Mr. Grimm, and Mr. Ash, they sadly wouldn't be realistic enough to even be in this game. They'd have to be real people. Sweet Tooth would probably be arrested before even making it to the contest, and of course, no flames on his head, so big L. And the last negative I could think of for a more realistic game is there just, in general, wouldn't be any music. There would be only game audio for the most atmospheric gameplay. You could argue that maybe an in-game radio, so to speak, could happen and have it just sound realistic, I guess, like kind of fading into the background of your actual battle, which could be cool. But I think for the most part, they'd probably just choose to not have anything at all. So that is it for what if Twisted Metal was realistic. These are my thoughts that I wrote down over time the last few days or so, trying to think of different things that could be good or could be bad in this situation. I genuinely think there could be some really cool features that could come along with a more realistic approach to the series if we were to get a new game. But obviously, I just don't think they should go overboard with it. I think we still should have our mystical, kind of weird, campy, Twisted Metal universe that we've always come to know and love, and have Calypso be his normal demonic self that can grant wishes. I just don't think they should ever stray too far away from that. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Is there other things that you can think of that would make a realistic version of Twisted Metal just suck ass compared to a more traditional Twisted Metal? Or do you genuinely think it would be better? I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. And again, thank you, Pedro, for the idea for this video. Much love, brother. And for everybody else, make sure to leave a like to show your support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.